Hello everyone, in this video we'll create the supplier in Oracle Fusion using the FBDI process in OIC. But before that we'll understand what is FBDI process. So let's start. So FBDI or file-based data import in Oracle Cloud is a method for importing large volumes of data into Oracle Fusion Cloud applications. So what are the steps for FBDI process? Let's understand. So first of all, we have to download the XLSM template from the Oracle portal. So suppose if we want to create the supplier, in that case, we have to download the supplier template. Then we have to generate a CSV file from that template, and that CSV file may contain all the data that we want to upload, or we can just take the CSV format and later in OIC from the source file we can populate the data into that CSV file. Then we have to create the properties file. But what is the use of properties file? If we use the CSV file only, then the data will be imported to the interface only. It will not create any supplier. So after the data is loaded to the interface, we have to trigger one ESS job that will create the supplier in Oracle ERP. So to trigger that ESS job, we have to create one properties file, and in that properties file all the information regarding that ESS job will be there. So that is why we require this properties file. After that, using the CSV file and the properties file, we have to create one zip file. And after the zip file is created, we'll upload that zip file into Oracle Cloud using the Oracle Cloud adapter, and it will create the supplier in the Oracle ERP. Now we'll follow all the steps to create the supplier in Oracle ERP. So first of all, we'll download the FBDI template for supplier creation. So I'll search with supplier FBDI template. So now I'll go to this Oracle portal. I'll choose the option view latest. And here under supplier model, you will find all the FBDI template related to supplier. So I'll click on the import suppliers, and here you can see XLSM template. So I'll download this template. Now I'll go to the properties of this file, and we'll check this unblock checkbox, and now I'll open this template. I'll click on enable content. Now here you can see two tabs are there. So in the first tab you will find the instruction, and in this tab you can generate the CSV file, and in the second tab you can see Oracle is already provided some sample supplier data for our reference. So I will delete all this data, and now you have two options. You can directly provide your supplier data in this particular sheet, and you can generate the CSV file, and that CSV file you can use for the supplier import. But we'll not follow that. Rather, we'll generate the blank CSV file, and in the OIC mapping we'll get the supplier data from the source file, and that data will put into that CSV file. But before that, I will copy the header and put that in the first row. Why I am doing this? Because this header will be used in the OIC mapping. So now I'll go to the first tab and I'll generate the CSV file. So here you can see one CSV and one zip file is generated. So if you open the CSV file, you can find the header is there in the first row. So this CSV file format will be used to load the supplier into the interface. Now you can see one zip file is also generated, and if you open this zip file, the same CSV file is there within this zip file. So if you directly load this zip file into Oracle ERP, then the supplier will be loaded into the interface only, but it will not create the supplier. So if you want to create the supplier, then after the supplier is loaded into the interface, we have to trigger one more ESS job, and that ESS job will get the supplier from the interface and create the supplier in Oracle Fusion. So that is why we need one more properties file, and in that properties file all the information related to that ESS job will be there, and it will automatically trigger that ESS job to create the supplier in Oracle ERP. So now this is the source file supplier underscore data, and here you can see we have three supplier in this file, supplier 101, 102 and 103, and we'll create these three suppliers in Oracle ERP. So first of all, I'll place this source file into the one of the SFTP folder. Now in the OIC, we'll first download this file, and then we'll read the file to get the data, and using that data we'll populate this particular CSV file that we have just generated. And after that we'll create the properties file, and we'll zip these two files and we'll upload that into the Oracle ERP to create the supplier. So go to OIC instance, and for this integration we need three connection: REST, FTP and Oracle ERP Cloud Adapter connection. So REST and FTP connection is already configured. If you want to refer this configuration, you can refer my earlier videos. So in this video we'll configure the Oracle ERP Cloud Adapter. So under the connection, I'll click on this create button to create the Oracle ERP Cloud Adapter connection. So I'll search with Oracle ERP Cloud. So this is the adapter. So I'll select this. I'll put the name as ERP Cloud 001, and it will be invoke connection. So I'll click on create. Now here we have to provide the ERP Cloud URL and the username password. So I'll provide that. Now I'll test this. So you can see the connection was tested successfully. Now I'll save this. Now I'll go to integration section and we'll create our integration. So we'll choose the application integration and put the name as INTG007. I'll click on create button. So first of all, we'll use the REST connection, and I'll put the name as request. Continue. So here in the endpoint relative resource URI, I'll just provide one slash, and here I'll choose the action as post. I'll not provide any kind of payload or parameters for this REST connection. I'll just continue, finish. But we have to provide the SFTP file location. For that, I'll create one variable, and in that variable I'll store the file path of the SFTP. So I'll create one assign action and provide the variable name as v underscore file path, and provide the value as the file location in SFTP. Now I'll save this. Now I'll use the FTP connection to download this file from the SFTP. So I'll put the name as download file, continue, and I'll choose the operation as download file, Input directory I will provide as slash. We'll put the directory in the mapping. I'll provide the file name as supplier underscore data dot csv. To provide the download directory as well, so I'll provide slash supplier slash download. Continue, finish. Now I'll go to the map of download file, and under the download request I'll map the directory with the v underscore file path where we have saved our file location. Now validate this. Now after downloading the file, we have to read the file. So for that, I'll use the stage file action. And here I'll put the name as read source file. Continue. So here we'll use the configure file reference, and the file reference we'll get from the download file response. So here we'll use this file reference. Now continue. Now we have to provide the source file schema. So here we'll upload the source file to get the source file schema. I'll put the record name as R. I'll provide the supplier name as mandatory. Now continue, finish. So now the data that we are getting from the source file, we have to put those data into our CSV file format that we have generated from the XLSM template. For that, we'll use the stage file action again, and now we'll write the file in the same file format that we generated from the XLSM template, and we'll provide the data from the source file that we have read. So I'll put the name as write CSV file. So we'll choose the option as write file. Now I'll provide the file name as POJ suppliers int.csv, and the output directory I'll provide as slash supplier slash csv. Now I'll continue. Now we have to upload the schema of the CSV file. So I'll choose the CSV file that we have generated from the XLSM template. I'll provide the record name as W, record set name as WS. I'll first make all the columns as optional and then choose the first column as mandatory, because one column should be always mandatory. Now click on continue, finish. Now go to the map. Now here you will get the data under read source file response. So first of all, we have to map the repeating element R to W, and then we'll map the supplier name to supplier name. Then we can see tax, organization type, supplier type, business relationship, taxpayer country, then taxpayer ID. And two more things we need to map. First is import action. So for the import action, we'll create the target node, and we'll put the hard-coded value as create. And we have to also provide the batch ID. So you can find the batch ID here, and batch ID should be a unique value. So for the batch ID field, I'll provide the instance ID of the integration. So under the integration metadata, under runtime details, you will find the instance ID. So that will go to batch ID. Now validate this. And here you have to make sure that you are passing the mandatory fields for the supplier template. So how we will check that? So you can go to the supplier template, and in the supplier template, the field where you can see star is there, those are mandatory, like import action, supplier name, business relationship. These are the mandatory fields. So make sure you are passing the value in those fields. So we are already doing this. Now save this. Now we have to create the properties file that will be used to trigger the import supplier ESS job, and that will be used to create the supplier from the interface. For the properties file, the file format will be like this: job package name, then job definition name, then zip file prefix, then all the parameters of this particular ESS job, and the extension of the file will be dot properties. But how we'll get this information, job package, job definition, and all these parameters? So for this we have to go to Oracle ERP, and in the right hand side under settings and actions, you have to click on setup and maintenance, and click on these tasks and go to search, and here you have to search with manage enterprise. So you can see that manage interface scheduler job definition and job set for financial, supply chain management and related application. Click on this. So in this screen you will find all the ESS jobs for financial, SCM and related application. So for our supplier import, the ESS job name is import supplier. So we'll search with that. So this is the ESS job for supplier import, and we'll edit this to get all the details. So you can see the name. So this is nothing but job definition name, and path is job package name. So we'll need these two information, as well as we need the parameters for this ESS job. So here this import option, read exceptions only, and batch ID, these three parameters we require. The last two parameters is same as import option and report exception, so we'll not require this. So now I'll go to OIC, and now I'll create few variable to store this job package, job definition and all the parameters. So first I'll create one variable v underscore job package name, and here I'll store this job package. Then we'll copy the job definition and create one more variable v underscore job definition name, and we'll paste this here. Now we'll go to the parameter list, and the first parameter is import option. So I'll put the name as v param1, which is first parameter, and the value will pass new, which is the default value, and for the second parameter we'll pass the value as n. We'll create two more parameters. V param2 will pass the value as n, and V param3, and parameter 3 is nothing but batch ID, and that batch ID will get from the OIC instance ID. So now we'll keep this blank and we'll map this when we create the properties file. So save this. Now we'll create the properties file. So we'll use the stage file action to create the properties file. So I'll provide the name as write properties file, continue, and we'll use the write file operation, and I'll provide the name as job details dot properties. We have to provide one output directory. I'll provide the output directory as supplier slash output. And this same directory we have to use for the CSV file as well. So now continue. Now continue. So put the job details file. Put the record name as W. Record set as WS. Provide one column as mandatory. Continue. Finish. In the map of write properties file, so we have the variable. So job definition name will go to job definition name. Then we have to job package name will go to job package name. Parameter 1 will go to param1. Parameter 2 will go to param2. And for the param3, we have to pass the instance ID. So I'll go to integration metadata, and under runtime details, I'll use the instance ID to param3. And for the zip file prefix, we need to create one more variable. So I'll go to assign option. I'll put the name as v zip file prefix, and I'll provide the name as POZ supplier int. Save this. Now I'll go to mapping again. So we'll pass the v zip file prefix to zip file prefix. Now this is done. Validate this. Now we are done with our properties file, but one thing we need to verify, that the output path for the CSV file and the properties file should be same. So if I go to the write CSV file stage file, so here we have to provide the output directory as supplier slash output, because we have provided the same for the properties file. Now we have to create one zip file using this CSV and properties file. So for this again we'll use the stage file action. We'll provide the name as create zip file. So continue. We'll choose the option as zip files. So the file name will be poz suppliers int.zip. Directory will pass the same directory like supplier output. Output directory will provide as supplier zip. Continue. Finish. Now the zip file creation is done. Next we have to upload this zip file into the Oracle ERP to create the supplier. So now we have to use the connection of ERP cloud adapter. So this is the connection ERP cloud 001, and here I will provide the name as import supplier ERP. Continue. So you can see three options are there. So among these three options, we have to choose the option import bulk data into Oracle ERP cloud. So I'll choose the second option. Continue. So now we have to search the import process, which is import suppliers. So we'll select this and we'll continue. Now here you will find one more option, which is callback option. You can check this checkbox if you want the callback, but we'll see this in the next video. So now I'll keep this as it is. Continue, then finish. Now go to the mapping of this import supplier ERP. Now here I'll provide the file reference of the zip file. Now I'll go to the zip file response. And I'll pass the file reference. Now we have to map the file name as well. So I'll map file name to file name. Now validate this. So now this is done. So this Oracle ERP Cloud Adapter connection will import the zip file into ERP, and first it will read the CSV file to import the data into the interface, and then properties file will trigger the import supplier ESS job to create the supplier from the interface. Now we are ready to activate and run this integration. So I'll activate this in debug mode. And I'll run this integration. So there is no payload for this integration. I'll simply run this. Now the integration is completed successfully. If you go down and if you go to the message processed by import supplier ERP, you can find out one process ID, which is 8067646, and this is the process ID for load interface file for import ESS job, which will be used to load the file into interface. So we'll go to Oracle ERP and under tools we'll go to schedule process, and here we can search this process ID. So copy this process ID and search it here. So you can find load interface file for import. So this is success, and it will call two more ESS job transfer file and load file to interface to import the file into the interface. And after this process, the properties file will be used to trigger the ESS job import supplier that will create the supplier from the interface. So you can see this is the import supplier, and which is also succeeded. And here you can see all the parameters that we are passing. Argument 1 is new, argument 2 is n, and the argument 3 is nothing but batch ID that we are getting from the instance ID of OIC. Now here you can see the log, and one more attachment is there. So that is the report. So you can download the report and you can open the report. So in the report you can see 3 suppliers has been imported successfully. So these are the supplier 100, supplier 102, supplier 103, and you can also search this supplier in the ERP. So for this, you need to go to procurement. Under procurement, you can find suppliers. Now go to task and manage suppliers. Click on the advanced, and here you can search with the supplier. So our first supplier is supplier 100. If you can search it here, so you can see this is the supplier 100. You can click on this supplier to find out the more details. So this is the supplier number 1731 that is created. So you can find all the details like tax, organization type, which is corporation, supplier type is supplier, creation source is import, creation date is 6125. So like that, you can also search for the rest of the two suppliers. So this is it for this video. If you like this video, please hit the like button, share this video within your circle. If you have any doubts, put that in the comment section and do subscribe our channel. Thank you.